update on the market here in South Surrey and how it's like October fared in comparison, right, to the rest of the year. You know, the one thing that I have found is that people are living with their home on the market and not getting any activity, not getting any showings, or else they are getting showings and then nobody is writing any offers. And it's a very telling sign because, you know, 19% of homes that were on the market were actually pulled from the market in October. And that tells a story of that, right? People are frustrated and they're not getting their price that they want. And really, the pricing is different to where it was most definitely a couple of years ago. And there are some instances where people need to sell and they bought in 2021, 2022, 23, and the prices have now returned back down there, or maybe somebody's taking a bath and actually having to sell for less than what they sold for. So really, why would somebody want to sell in this market, right? And what I always say to all my clients, and it's something that I feel quite strongly about, is that this is the great market to move in, right? This is a market that you can sell, and then provided you follow, you know, procedures on how to get it sold. And but it also helps you to, you know, once you've sold, be in a great position to then go and buy and to negotiate and buy, especially when the prices have been falling. So the average sale price this month in South Surrey White Rock is kind of buoyed a little bit, but it has I think we are sitting at, it's up 2.8% from last month, but sales are, and sales are up as well, right? So sales are up 9%, like 9% of houses that are on the market have sold. And that's a big deal because at the beginning of the year, you know, I was seeing 2% of homes, maybe 3% of homes that were selling here in South Surrey White Rock. It depends upon the neighborhoods that are selling, right? They're different micro markets in every area that we are here in South Surrey for sure. So sales are at 9%, and withdrawals, people taking their home off the market, is at 19%. But prices are up 2.8%. And so there are less homes on the market currently than they were, and that again I equate to people thinking that they are not getting their pricing right. Their homes are sitting on the market, and you've got to think about what the pain point of that is if they are not selling, they can't move on with their lives, and how frustrating is that, right? I know what it was like when I left South Africa. I think when we lost money on our home that we sold, and came here to live in Canada. And you know, I remember at the time thinking that how could we lose that money, but we lost it. And you know, I can't remember what it was that we lost. So that's the picture I'm always trying to give people, is that there's a big picture here. If you're trying to sell your home, you really are in a position to sell it, right? Because if you price it within the market, you can sell it. You can even sell it if you price it below the market and still sell it for what it's worth in the market. I did that last week and I got multiple offers on a home, right? So it really is a matter of being able to look at the bigger picture and what are your life objectives? What are you trying to achieve? And where are you trying to go in order to sell your home, right? So each particular neighborhood has its own micro market, and yes, not every seller, when you go to write an offer, is going to agree to your price that you put in an offer. If you're lowballing, that's just the nature of the beast, and that's why some people haven't sold their homes, because they're still holding out for their higher number. But once you have sold, you are in the palm seat of purchasing something, And I do have my Mandy Moves method, which is very exciting. And if you don't know why it's called Mandy Moves, it's because when I was at school growing up, my parents always called me Mandy, and from Amanda, Mandy. And then all my mom's friends called me Mandy as well in a South African accent, and I just couldn't stand it. So I had a nickname called Mans, and then I moved here to Canada and nobody could pronounce the D in it, and it was too much of a man with an S, and I didn't like it, so I went back to Amanda. So anyway, but the Mandy Moves method is a 5-step process which I've worked on in the 11 years of my career, and really have the opportunity to talk you through that in stages of getting your home ready to market, how we manage when we're on market, and what do we do once we are near the finish line, and what do we do after the finish line. It helps clarify it, and obviously if you are somebody like me who has children that are growing and that are venturing out into the world, and you're worried about their future, you're worried about where they're going to live one day, how they're going to afford to buy a home, and maybe you've got parents that can't do the stairs anymore and need to move, or else they need to move, they can't live by themselves anymore, and where do you put them, right? And how do you manage that scenario, right? So I focus on that sandwich generation, busy professionals, and if you have any questions about that, you can always contact me. So where do I see the market going? Well, I don't know. I wish I had a glass ball for you to tell you. We are sitting with the average sale price in October was 2,013,000, up 2.8%. We had a month's supply of 12.2, which means that every listing, provided no new listings hit the market, would take 12.2 months to sell everything. And but the HPI price was down 8.1%. And the HPI price is something that, when you're getting your house appraised, and the bank comes and helps you to figure out how much financing that they would give you, they would be looking at that number, right? So that's very important when pricing a home. And townhouse prices are down 6.8%. And we're in a buyer's market, but you know what? We're near the end of a buyer's market, right? So that's pretty good at 9.1%. We were in the past down by 3%, which is really, really low. So what does this mean for you? How do you feel about you selling? Why are you selling? What's your motivation? If you are on the market and you're sitting on the market, what is your motivation to sit on the market? I always think, I moved from South Africa to Canada, and we had to take that leap. And the funny thing is, when you take that leap, the path opens, right? And so we arrived here, we had 6 weeks to find a home, because we had a container coming from South Africa and we had nowhere to put it. And we were staying in my brother's basement in West King Ed and Blenheim down in Vancouver. And where were we going to go, right? And how were we going to afford to live? And how were we going to pay for our mortgage? And how were we going to, all of these, how many, I don't know, unknown questions, we just proceeded, right? And the path always is open unto you. So I feel like the biggest challenge is getting over that hump of deciding to actually do something, and then you get the courage to continue as you see it's not as bad as you think it was going to be. So I really feel the biggest fear here in the area is that people are worried that they're not going to be able to afford their next home, if they lower their price. And it's all relative, because everybody's suppressed at the moment, right? So that I think you've got more of a concern in a hot market, worrying that you are not going to get a home, because you sell your home and the price of the new home is more expensive day by day. So pick your poison is what I say. This is a better market to move in. And you can always click down below to get you can always click down below to get a copy of my Mandy Moves guide, and you can also contact me and I'll be able to explain further about what is happening in the market in your area and particularly your home.